Hi everybody, my name is Beth Revis and I'm the author of Across the Universe, A World Without You, an upcoming novel from Star Wars and a few other books that are going to be out soon. I'm also the author of Paper Hearts, which is a series of writing guides for aspiring authors. Volume 1 is about writing, Volume 2 is about publishing, and Volume 3 is about marketing after your book is published. And I wrote those books because for the 6 years before I was a writer, I was a teacher, and I really love teaching. I kind of think as a teacher, if that makes sense. Like, whenever I learn something new, I'm like, how can I best tell other people about this? Which has definitely influenced my writing, but it's also influenced the way I approach writing. And so, anyway, I have been working more and more with outlines lately, and I discovered sort of a brief method that I think is going to help me streamline some of the heart of a book, if that makes sense. And I thought I would do an experiment and do like a little mini workshop with you guys. And if you like this kind of thing, let me know in the comments. If you want to see more of this, let me know. Hit like, hit subscribe, and maybe I'll turn this into a series, or maybe you guys are all going to hate this and this will just be the one off on YouTube. Who knows? We'll find out together. So anyway, this is going to be like a little mini writing workshop on streamlining and finding the heart of your book. This would work if you want to do a short story. It works if you want to do a novel. It works if you've not started yet, if you've already finished and you're in your revision mode. Whatever stage you're at, I think this would be beneficial. I'm currently trying to think of or try to start a new draft of something, and this is what I've been doing, and I realized that it's something that I thought I might be able to share with you guys and help you out. This only requires paper and pen, so if you don't have that, go get it. And it would also be helpful if you have somebody that you can talk to who doesn't know about your book. And it doesn't have to be a writer. It could be your critique partner if you have one. It can be a stranger at Starbucks. It doesn't matter. But somebody that doesn't really know that much, that you haven't talked that much to about the current thing that you're working on. It helps to have another brain to pick on this. It's not necessary, because I know writers are introverts and nobody really wants to talk to each other. But this is something that I think would be better off if you do it with fellow writers. So grab your piece of paper. That's the first thing you need. And on the top, this does not have to be very formal. I'm not going to make like, neatness out of this. But on the top of the paper, write down the character's name and like the three main physical details or background are three important things to know about this character. I'm going to do this with you, but I'm going to pick a character that I'm assuming most of you know about. I'm going to use Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games. So really quickly, on the top of your paper right now, I'm making you work. This is a workshop. Write down the name of your character and, 2 or 3 details about her or him or they. And okay, so this is how quick and easy it should be. I have Katniss Everdeen, and she is into archery. She is a survivor. I would have to go into more detail, but quickly, she's a survivor. She knows how to live off the land, and she lives in District 12, which the salient point of that is that it's the poor district, so she's not from a very well-off area. Okay, this is all I want at the top. Now, let's go back to elementary school. Fold your paper into 3 columns. I'm just going to fold it like this. This does not have to be neat. All you want is 3 columns. If you are like super, super skilled and can draw a straight line, you could just do that. But I just think it's easier to fold. So I've got my 3 folds. And I'm going to draw a divider line between the names and the details. Ta-da! Ah, wind. Divider line. And now I've basically made 3 columns, right? So the first column, I'm going to write the words want. So on your paper, I want you to list out some things that your character wants out of life. And this can be like physical wants, like Katniss Everdeen physically wants to survive and put food on the table. Like, especially there at the beginning of the Hunger Games, like, all she wants to do is, you know, kill a deer and eat it. So that's a cheerful thing. Thanks, Suzanne Collins. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. Write down the things that your character really wants. And this is physical, but this is also maybe like goals. Like, what does she want out of life? If she could have her dreams come true, does she want to be a teacher? Does she want to be a hero? Does she just want to be a mother? Whatever the case is, like, what does she want? For mine, I've got that she wants to survive. She wants to put food on the table. She wants to protect her sister. She wants to... I was going to say she wants to escape, but I'm not really sure if she does want to escape. I'm going to put escape with a question mark on this because she kind of wants to escape her district, but she also, like when Gale gives her the opportunity to run, she doesn't take it. So I'm not too sure on that. And then thinking forward into the rest of the plot, because this should be beyond just chapter 1. Thinking forward into the rest of the plot, she wants to, again, survive the Hunger Games. And this is more, instead of like a survival of, I gotta eat, it's a survival of fighting and death. So she's also fighting basically for herself. And I think those are the main ones. So first column, just the wants. The second column, I want you to think about the things that your character loves. And this can be people, obviously. So for me, I'm going to definitely add Prim, her sister. It can be ideas, like she loves freedom. And this isn't something that I think Katniss ever actually explicitly states, but I think it is true that, especially in the beginning when you see her hunting, she's not just hunting for survival, she's hunting for the sense of freedom that she feels when she's out there. This can be a romantic love, so Team PETA. This could be a love of something about herself. So what does your character love about him or herself? And I think for Katniss, she loves her skills. She loves her self-reliance. Let's see. She also loves things from the past. She loves her father. And that is something that is mentioned several times, how much she loves her father and these things that are gone. So in this column right now, I want you to write down the things that your character loves, whatever those may be. And don't just think of romantic love. Don't just think of familial love, although those two should be included. But think of things they love about themselves, things they love about where they live, things that they love, something, maybe a better way to look at this is things that you're passionate about, or like, what would be the things that your character would fight for? Like, what things would be the thing that the character would stand up for? Like, those sort of things. So that's what this column is. So I have wants and I have love. And if I'm going too fast, because I don't want this video to be 8 million years long, if I'm going too fast, feel free to just pause this and fill out the chart at your own pace. So, want, love. And then the next column, we're going to fill out what is the opposite of love. And keep in mind that the opposite of love is not necessarily hate. And I think you will see, or at least I'm seeing, the older I get and the more experience I get, the opposite of love isn't hate at all. It's actually fear. And fear may lead into hate, but fear is the opposite. So in your last column, I want you to think about the things that your character fears. This can be something physical, like the dark, or even more beyond that, like a specific person, like maybe they're afraid of the government, or go beyond that into a specific member or level of the government, like President Snow, which I'm going to add to my list. But it can also be feelings, like I think Katniss fears being alone. And I think you can see that from the very first part of the book all the way through the end of all 3 books. a main driving force for why she does the things she does is because she's afraid of being alone. She experienced that when her father died and her mother kind of checked out. And I think that's where a lot of the anger, and you can argue even the hatred of her mother comes from, is this fear of being alone. So I think for this column in particular, go as deep as you can into your character. What is your character's worst nightmare? And it doesn't even have to be necessarily something they're conscious of. Like, I don't think if you were to ask Katniss, if she was a real person, and you go up to her and like, are you afraid of being alone? I think she'd be like, no, and then shoot you with an arrow. Like, Katniss would never ever confess to being afraid of being alone. But I think she really is. So think really hard, and this might be something where you especially need to pause the video, but think about the things that your character fears. I'm going to put that Katniss fears President Snow, that she fears being alone. I think she fears responsibility. Even though she takes it, she doesn't want it. I think she also fears failing. And I mean that in that failing her sister. Like, she obviously doesn't want to starve to death, and that's why she's going to hunt. But I think a big motivation for her is not like her fear of her own starving, but the fear of her sister starving. And this is where a lot of the important distinction comes from here. Like, if you go back to the beginning of my chart, one of the first things I have is that she wants is to survive. But she does, I don't think Katniss actually fears failing her own survival. I think she fears failing her sister's survival. And so doing this chart, and like this maybe makes me sound super clever, but I swear to God, I just thought of this like just now. Like, this is making me realize different things about this character that I didn't even write. So this is the chart that I have. Wants, loves, and fears. And a few little details about this character. Now, the reason why I started off this video by saying that this will work better if you have somebody to do this with, especially somebody who doesn't know your story, is what I would like you to do now. This is your homework. I'm going to give you homework for this because it's a workshop. Is to take this piece of paper and give it to somebody who doesn't know your story. So they don't know your character, they don't know your story, they don't know anything about it. And I want you to see how accurate their interpretation of your character is based on these three traits. This, basically, is who your character is. I really think if you distill your character into wants, loves, and fears, that's everything that's vital and is the heart of that character and that person. So when you have this much information, I think you know at least enough about the character to make your query letter, to make an outline, to focus your revisions. So you take this much. But we all know that a story is not just character. A story is character and plot. And what plot really is conflict. So in order to know your character even better and to make sure that what you believe about your character is coming through on the page, I want you to give your worksheet and your chart to somebody who doesn't know the story. Give it to them and ask them to tell you what they think your character would do in a moral situation. The one that I like is the moral situation of your character finds a big bag of money. And they don't know who it belongs to. They can take that money and, like magical world, they're not going to get caught. They're not going to have any repercussions for taking that money. What do? Do they return it? Do they use it for good? Do they take it for themselves? Do they divide the money up? Do they donate it or hide it? Do they try to squirrel it away for a later day? Whatever the case may be. But that's the moral dilemma that I tend to like to use because that's a really easy one that everyone can identify with. So take your chart and give it to somebody who doesn't know your story. Ask them to read over it. And then based on those details, what do they think your character would do in that situation? If they find money or if you want to come up with a different moral dilemma. What would your character do in that moral dilemma? And have them tell you what they think that character would do. If that matches what you think your character would do, then that gives you a really good idea that you know your character well enough. You have a concrete idea of what their motivation is. If they are way off base with this, maybe you need to re-examine your character and think a little bit more about why they're doing what they're doing. This also can help you out with your plot. So if you are writing your book and you have a plot problem that your characters need to solve, but you don't know how they would act, maybe do this chart and then pose that moral dilemma question to yourself. Like, what would somebody who has these wants, fears, and loves do in this situation? Figuring out wants, fears, and loves, I think, will really help you figure out who your character is. And when you have a clear idea of who your character is, you'll know what they do whenever they're faced with conflict. Character and conflict or plot is all it takes to make a story. So if you start with these fundamental basics, I think you've got a really strong start for the rest of the whole story. Like I said, I really hope this helps. I'm trying not to make this too awful long. If you like this kind of content where we kind of do a workshop together, or I tell you some philosophies about writing and all that jazz, make sure you like, subscribe, make a comment. Let me know if this helps. Let me know if you want to see more of this. Thanks so much, guys. I really hope this helps. Have a good day and happy writing.